Hi, it's Kaylin Eusis from Reckless Sisu Coaching. I'm making this video today in response to a situation with my videos and my new channel on YouTube and also Facebook. So this content is going to be posted on my Reckless Sisu Coaching Facebook page along with my YouTube channel that I do as well. I have gotten a much larger outpour on Facebook so far than I have on YouTube, and just really wanna, not focus on, I'm not concerned about views or likes or comments. The only thing that really makes me happy about getting likes and views and comments is that my message is being spread across, a variety of people who need to hear it. I know my message is important. I know there's others going through it because I've gone through it. And I'm not the only one. I'm not alone, right? We need to remember that. And I don't want people to feel like they have to go through this by themselves. And I've spent my entire life really honestly feeling completely alone and misunderstood and living in that self-doubt, even though there's something inside of me that knew that I wasn't wrong. There's something inside of me that knew I was right, who knew the truth, but everything in my external world kept telling me it was wrong, denying that, extinguishing that truth, right? And I don't want people to have to do that like I did. So I want to be a voice, I want to be a support, and I want to be some validation and a beacon of hope for other people. It 100% is my purpose. So I had a response from these videos from my family. If you've watched any of my other videos, I came from a toxic family system. I grew up believing that every family was like that. I grew up believing that I had very wonderful parents who sacrificed everything for me and put us children first and cared about us more than anything, blah, 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 blah. And you want to know why I thought these things? Because this is what they told me. This is what they told us. This message was rehearsed and spoken over and over and over and over. So that was the message that everyone believed because they always heard it. They would say it and implant it in certain situations where it made sense and it appeared to be true. The problem is that they never allowed anyone to get close enough to actually see the truth. We were never allowed to get close enough to anyone for them to see what really happened behind closed doors. And this was first brought up when I had left my home, gone to college, dropped out. I mean, I was a picture perfect, my mom would say, the epitome of purity, motivated, on course child person. I mean, I knew what I wanted to do. I had my life planned out until I got out of the house and I crashed and burned. I mean, I was not prepared for life in any sense of no way. I completely imploded. I mean, the almost months after I left, I didn't know how to function outside of the control of my parents. And so this caused a lot of problems for me. But I was in therapy at one point because I felt like I had some kind of separation anxiety. Like there was a lot of angst in me. And I remember they asked, "What's your family like?" And I said, "I have a wonderful family. I have a great family. They're wonderful. They're fantastic." And she looked at me and she goes, okay. So fast forward a couple years later, and the same therapist who I went back to said, I knew something, and I kind of started to establish that there was some things, and it started out with my mom. And the first thing she said was, yeah, I knew something was going on when that was how you responded to your family. When you immediately said they're great, wonderful, fantastic, I knew something was wrong. That's the first sign that you might be a narcissist or have a lot of narcissism in your family. No family is perfect. No family is normal. No family is any of those things, right? So it's not a very vulnerable response. It took me a lot of years, a lot of crap, a lot of self-destruction, self-sabotage, hurting myself, continuing to participate in my own abuse. And that's a hard thing for me to finally have to admit and acknowledge, that I'm not a victim. And I probably haven't been a victim for a long time, even though I still feel, I know that I was victimized and I've been victimized. But once I would learn that the people around me were toxic and that they were abusing me, and I continued to associate and keep myself around them because of whatever in me that I needed from them, that is participating in your own abuse. Thinking that I can change my parents and make them see my worth, when I know for a fact, because I have been through trauma therapy, I have done EMDR, I have been in recovery, I have done more therapy than you can imagine. I do research, I was a trauma counselor, I understand narcissism, I understand cluster B personality disorders. I still want to believe I can because of something in me. That doesn't even have to do with them anymore. They're just being who they are. They're being who they are. They're working, they're doing the best they can with what they have. It may not be much. It may be toxic and distorted. But all I have control over is myself. And if I know this and I'm still trying to do that, that's on me. That's something in me I need to assess, right? And that's an unhealthy behavior as well. And you know what? I'm not going to sit here and say that I don't have a million unhealthy, toxic, disordered behaviors. I've taken, the diagnostic personality disorder test, the MMPI, as it's called in my state, and it's not clear, but I am not a narcissist. I have the testing to prove that. I have repeatedly asked my therapist, are you sure I'm not a narcissist? Are you absolutely sure? Maybe I'm just a really sneaky covert narcissist. Like, I'm so afraid because as I am learning how to be healthy, I'm recognizing all these toxic, unhealthy things in my own behavior. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a narcissist. And I'm not. She's like, no, you're not. And so every time my family now wants to call me narcissist, because that's what they do. And once they realized they were exposed, they have been hell-bent on trying to make me out to be the narcissist. They've never done this before. They've always talked about how your birthday's on the same day as Mother Teresa's. It's not a coincidence. They'll say things like that when I'm doing well and I'm out and I'm, a good image for the family. And I have, done a lot of very remarkable things in my life. They don't last long generally. I generally self-sabotage them, or they get sabotaged somehow. It's generally, on the outside it looks as though it's me, and I participated in all of that, right? Entirely my fault? Probably not. Will I ever know? No. So I've claimed a lot of, I've taken on more fault in my life than probably was deserved, which then kept me stuck in a cycle of shame and self-hatred. And so I try really hard not to take on too much or more than what I'm responsible for, if that makes sense. So when I'm talking and I go back and forth, it's because I have this thing inside of me that really struggles with taking all the blame and not taking any blame, right? And it's always somewhere in the middle. And so I've learned that in DBT. I've done a lot of dialectical behavior therapy, and that's something that I've learned. But this has been a big step for me to come out publicly. I do a lot of advocacy in my recovery. This is not new. I speak at galas, fundraisers, things like that, to talk about, my life in addiction and the ways that I spent a lot of years I spent numbing and trying to escape the pain and numb the sadness and the emptiness and just a lot of other reasons. Self-destruct and addiction. And so that's a huge part of my story, and that's something that, I never want to leave out, and I never want to make the focus. They want to make the focus. The narcissists and the disordered people only want to focus on that. So I'm very careful that I do make sure it's addressed, but it is not who I am. It is not what my life has. It's not, it really isn't. I'm not, definitely not your stereotype. I definitely have not chosen to succumb to a life of addiction or unhealthy behaviors. So let's just make that very clear. I will reference it. I will talk about it. I'm open to any questions anyone has, but I want to make sure that that's not the focus, because the real focus, that was a symptom of a much deeper problem. And while it is not an excuse to use substances to cope, it was just what I found. And you know what? I wish I wouldn't have, but I will tell you this, that they were effective for a lot of things when I needed them. And so I'm not going to, get too hard on myself, because we are all doing the best we can. And there are times when I needed something. And had I not had ways to numb myself and some feelings, the bad feelings, I might have taken my own life, because I have a lot of suicidal ideations in my past. So I'm still standing here today. I don't regret doing what I needed to do to survive. So do I wish I would have found healthier ways? I absolutely do. Are there healthier ways? Yes, there are. Are there people that go through trauma and hard things without using substances? Yeah, they do. And I really respect those people. I really think it's amazing that they were able to do that. I wasn't, and I'm okay with that. I don't look down on myself for it. There are a lot of people who can be, there are many people actually, some of the worst people too, some of the most vile, angry, mean, disordered, dysfunctional, delusional people I know, abusive even, that look down on me. And at least I didn't do drugs. I never did that. I had all this stuff, but I never did try. I never did drink too much alcohol. I was never an alcoholic. As they, slugged down multiple cocktails. I get that a lot. I think it's funny, honestly. It's not shaming anymore. It was before, but it's not. It actually kind of makes me laugh. So, good for you. If that was what makes you feel better about yourself, then awesome. I know you're an awful human being sober. I was likely a better person than you using than you could ever be. So I don't feel bad. Even in the midst of my addiction, I still strove to be a good person and have empathy for people and invoke change. So I was not someone who was selfish and tried to put others ahead of myself, or myself ahead of others, and put my addiction before the things. That was not me. And I'm not going to own that, because that wasn't. And that may be the stereotype of what someone in addiction is, and I don't apply to that. So I'm very confident in saying that. My family, I went off on a tangent totally, didn't I? Maybe I'll save the family stuff for the next video, and just kind of wrap this up with, I'll tell you this right now, I have kind of a framework for what I want to do, or a topic. I just let myself go. I don't take it too seriously. I think these videos for me are, one, very therapeutic for myself, probably more so than anything. And I just hope that something good can be used by them. And I've already had people reach out saying that this was validating for them, that this gave them the courage to answer the phone, or to look at that text message when they got a picture of their child they haven't been able to see, and gave them the courage to do it. And you know what? That's all that matters. So the people that don't like these videos, the people that are offended by these videos, there's going to be a lot of them. And you know what? I'm really not concerned with that. The people who are offended by these videos have been given many, many warnings, many opportunities, more chances than they have ever deserved, that a person could ever deserve. They have caused more destruction, more hurt, more pain intentionally on me than I even want to acknowledge or admit to myself. And still, I have given opportunity after opportunity, forgiven, warning, 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 another warning. This is your last chance. Wanting so badly to make sure that they understood that I don't want to go out publicly if it's not true. If I'm wrong, I don't want to do this. I don't want to speak a truth that isn't true. I don't want my feelings to just be my feelings and my experience, and it could be coming from a distorted, through my trauma lens and not real. And I don't want that. That's not healthy. That's not good. That's not helping anyone. All that's doing is further hurting others, sending on a message that's not of hope. It's actually causes people more destruction. I don't and would never do that. Now those are words, right? And that'll be another video. When your words, and people can tell you whatever they want, doesn't mean that it's true, or that you have to believe them. And you don't have to believe me. Honestly, I'm not concerned with that. In my head, I don't think anyone believes me ever. That's what I was conditioned to believe as a scapegoat, that no one believes you, that anything you say, people think you're lying. And then you throw in being like an addict or having, addiction stuff in your past too, like gangbuster. I mean, I assume everyone thinks that I'm lying all the time, which is a really crappy way to live. And I've gotten a lot better at this because I've got myself around people now that don't make me feel that way, that do believe me, do trust me, because I'm an honest person. But when you're told you're not an honest person, when you're told you're a liar, when you're told you're a pathological liar because you are a truth teller, it changes a lot of things about the way your brain works and how you see the world. And I'm slowly but surely rewiring my brain and seeing the world in a completely different light. EMDR therapy, light therapy, trauma therapy did a lot of amazing things for me. And as scary as it's been to see the world differently, I don't even want to say scary. It's actually been the opposite. The world seems easier to navigate now than it did before. It's still scary, but it feels possible to navigate it in a way that it didn't used to before, because I can see things for what they are. I can see it and name them. I learned in therapy, naming it. When I see a toxic behavior in someone, I can name it. That's projection. That's deflection. That's, looking at the narcissistic ones, right? But, naming my feelings, owning those things. And I can navigate that if I know what it is. It's when I don't know. It's when I doubt myself. It's when I don't understand, is when things start to get scary and I start relying on my own feelings and that's when I get scared, because of the self-doubt and the strong feelings that I do have. So I will start addressing those things, but I don't know if this video really encompassed much of a topic, but you know what? I'm not going to be super hard on myself. As a professional speaker, I tend to want things to be perfect. I want things to be articulate. I want, my message to come across perfectly. And yes, that's what I strive for. But you know what? I don't know what someone might get out of something I said. I learned that as I did go out and speak, that if I start saying something, maybe someone needed to hear it. Maybe any seed needed to be planted, and maybe God needed to put something through me that you needed to hear. So I hope that you have a wonderful evening. Please feel free to check out on YouTube, Kaylin Eusis, and on Facebook, Reckless Sisu Coaching. Have a great night. Bye from Minnesota.